Hi, and welcome back to India on 99.94, your home of Indian cricket content on the web via your podcast feed, via YouTube, and via the 99.94 app. I'm your host, Nikesh Ragani, BBC and SEN cricket commentator, alongside Sarah Warris of Wisden. And Sarah, we sit here shortly after India. Well, not shortly after they've qualified, but shortly after they've topped the group and made it through to the semi-finals as group winners. It's been a bit of a weird day, hasn't it? Shall we start before the India match? Just what the hell happened in the Netherlands versus South Africa? I mean, the permutations going into today's match is basically South Africa win and India win, and they're through to the semis. I mean, India basically could have gone through even if the match was rained off. They just needed the 1 point. South Africa needed that victory. And because South Africa ended up with that shock defeat to the Netherlands, it put Pakistan right back in the mix with making the semi-finals. And all they had to do was beat Bangladesh, and they did so. And it's India and Pakistan. Pakistan back from the dead, finishing second in the group. I mean, it's been a crazy day, hasn't it?
Just Pakistan things, you don't expect them to, like, they were ruled out, you don't expect them to go forward, and then it's just Pakistan things. I don't think any other team could be as unpredictable as they are, like, even on the field, off the field, like, there's so much of um chatter around the Pakistan team. And I was actually sleeping. I had a very bad headache and throughout the day, so I didn't watch either of those two matches. And when I woke up just minutes before the India match, I was like, okay, South Africa must have qualified. And then suddenly I saw, my WhatsApp messages just blowing up. Pakistan have qualified, and I was like, what happened? And yeah, it's just bizarre. And it's just all 2011 vibes again. I don't know if you've heard about that Oreo campaign where MS Dhoni launched Oreo biscuits, because Oreo was launched in 2011, and it was the year when India went on to win the World Cup, the 50 over World Cup. So, just to get that back, Oreo asked Dhoni to relaunch the Oreo biscuits, something like, and the tagline was, a repeat of 2011 or something like that. And it's almost going according to plan. India have lost to South Africa. In this year, they lost to South Africa in 2011. Ireland defeated England, and, just
Did
hopefully, yeah.
I just want to wind that back? Oreos only came to India in 2011, is that right?
Yep, yeah,
Wow.
in
You guys have
2011,
missed
yeah.
out, man. I mean, I first had Oreos when I went to the US as a kid, and they weren't available in the UK when I got back home until, I mean, we've had them for probably like 20 years now, but yeah, 2011. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Oreos, one of my favorites. But yeah, I mean, it's got 2011 vibes for India. It's got 92 vibes for Pakistan, in Australia as well, just coming back from the dead. And they're going to face New Zealand now in a knockout, just like they did in the quarterfinal when they made it through in that World. No, it was semi-final then as well, wasn't it? In that '92 World Cup, and Inzamam ul Haq played that brilliant innings, and the rest is history. Really, they got through to the final. The cornered Tigers, Imran Khan's men, and created history down there. So, look, we're hoping that doesn't happen. But just let's focus on India's match. Then we'll discuss the semi-finals briefly later on. We'll have a proper look at the semi-finals and a preview a little bit later in the week as well. But it was Zimbabwe who have beaten Pakistan. This is not the same Zimbabwe that we've seen probably in the last decade or so, where they've not kind of been at their best. Probably the last 15, 17 years, they've not really competed on that world stage. I mean, they had a very good side before that with the two Flower brothers and Alonga and Mbangwa and all these guys. They had a really solid team back in those days. They've got one or two who could cause problems, Sikandar Raza being one of them. world-class player on his day as well. And just as a team, their whole bowling unit, really, they're very miserly. They don't give away many runs. So it was a potential banana skin. But India knew coming into this match that they had qualified. Come what may, they were through to the semi-finals because South Africa had lost to the Netherlands, and then obviously Pakistan going to the top of the group briefly with that game extra that they played, beating Bangladesh. So India knew whatever happens, worst case scenario, they'll finish second, they'll get through to the semis, which is a hell of a lot better than last year in the UAE. So a little bit less pressure, but Rohit Sharma again winning the toss, again choosing to have a bat first. And look, things went okay in the power play overall, but that first over, that first 9 deliveries were dots, weren't they? I mean, that was,
Yeah.
you can't afford to do that in the semi-finals, can you? And I know
No.
KL Rahul ate up a lot of them, and then he came back and did what he does. But Rohit, I mean, he was looking to force things once again. Was that because the pressure was put on him with all the dot balls that KL ate up early on? Again, it was just a small passage in the game. And overall, the innings was brilliant. Surya was brilliant. We'll come on to that in a minute. But it's just annoying, isn't it? It just keeps happening time and time again. The intent. We're going to play this way. We're going to be attacking. We've not seen any of that in the entire World Cup.
There was this very there was a tweet there were many tweets which I saw, if KL Rahul is taking strike first up, India technically have just 19 overs to play, because the first over is more often than not a maiden over in this World Cup. And again, if it's not working for India, why isn't Rohit taking strike first up? uh, I don't understand that. And yeah, KL Rahul did manage to score a 50, but it's these slow starts. Often in big games, you won't be able to recover from there, no matter how much Surya Kumar or Hardik Pandya, even the middle order, no matter how much they do, it is going to cost you. And especially, in the semi final against England. England are a team, who just uh, bat aggressively right from the very start. Even against yesterday, they had the match, and they just the openers just set a very aggressive start for them. And in contrast, there's KL Rahul and Rohit Sharma. They scored 27 in 4 overs today. Not the worst, but not just go out there, start with intent, and show that you are here to um, just take on the bowlers and not play catch up till the very end. And about Rohit Sharma, just that he seems to be lacking that extra millisecond. There was this interview of Virat Kohli in 2017 Breakfast with Champions. So he was telling Gaurav Kapoor that Rohit Sharma just has that extra 1.5 milliseconds to gauge what the bowler is going to do, just pick out the nuances from the bowler's hand, and just get in position and go after the bowling. And he seems so hurried against pacers, especially in this entire World Cup. And even today, like he went after a short ball, didn't time it very well, he couldn't get under it. And I don't think it's just out of form for him now. I think, it's just a matter of his reflexes slowing down in the format. And I would be very surprised if he, goes on to play um, longer than this T20 World Cup.
Yeah, so would I. I mean, look, he's getting on in
Yeah.
age anyway. Next one, the T20 World Cup, is in 2024. It's a couple of years away. Will he be around? Who knows? He might have given up playing all forms of cricket by then. Hopefully, he not. Hopefully we can still see him in Test cricket, in ODI cricket, in the IPL, doing what he does. But yeah, as far as T20 internationals go, it's touch and go. But look, like we've said before, he's not going to
Yeah.
be dropping himself or anything like that. So he's going to be playing in that semi-final. And you're right, they cannot afford a start like that against England, because England are a solid side. We've not seen the best of England. I don't think we've had the opportunity, really, because they had the one match rained off. The match against Ireland was eventually rained off, but with a result in favour of Ireland. But I think had that match gone the full 20 overs, England were in a position to win that one as well. So, slightly harshly done in terms of the points in that group, but they made it through. they thumped New Zealand, which I think was a significant result as well. And they probably look like the strongest side left in the competition. So, I mean, would India have wanted to face them? Who knows? I mean, you've got to face the best in the semi-finals, haven't you? They never win against New Zealand in ICC
Yeah.
tournaments. England are the strongest side, so neither one is an ideal scenario. But look, the middle order once again came to the rescue a little bit. Kohli slowed down towards the end of his innings, actually, 26 from 25, looked very good early on, and then was a little bit more watchful with Surya Kumar at the other end, just doing sky things. And I'm running out of words to
Yeah.
describe this guy because he's from a different planet. The fact that he strikes at over 200 is one thing generally. I mean, 244 today, by the way, 61 not out of just 25 balls. But the fact he's consistently been striking at over 200 for 18 months in international cricket is mind boggling. I mean, how the hell was he not number one months ago? It's just
How didn't he play
crazy.
for India before?
Absolutely,
That's,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it's taken him a long time to get himself into this Indian setup. He's had to fight his way there. He's eventually made it, and it's a great story, isn't it? Because everything with him is against the odds. Because he would have grown up in Mumbai playing on Shivaji Park and in the Maidans there, and the Bombay batting school is very technical. They've produced some of the best players the world has ever seen, by the way, so it's not like they're doing anything wrong. But in this modern day and age with T20 cricket, he was still told time and time again that you can't be playing all these stupid shots. You got to play with a straight bat. You got to play the ball along the ground. All the usual, almost like the MCC coaching manual. Do you know what I mean? They're very old school there. Some of these coaches, and the fact that he had to fight his way through that system first and foremost, then made it into the Bombay or Mumbai as it is now, the academy. Played for the Mumbai age groups, and again, the coaching in the Mumbai Cricket Association is very similar. Very technical. So just had to fight his way through all of that. Eventually, just did his talking with the bat. Volume of runs, I suppose, is worth its weight in gold, and answers all those doubters with glee. And he's there doing his thing now for India. Again, had to fight his way. He performed in the IPL, but wasn't sort of one of the in crowd with the old regime. So had to wait his turn. Eventually made it, and wow, he's making it count. That's for sure. I mean, what a player! What a player!
Yeah.
He's almost challenging himself now. It's like, how high can I set this bar for myself? How can I wow myself by these shots that I play? It's just unbelievable.
That's exactly a point that I also had in mind. Every time he goes out to bat every day, he's like, okay, new challenge. How can I challenge myself today? What can I do today? Because it's just becoming monotonous for him. Before the World Cup started, there were people who were like, he's not a big match player. But he had a couple of failures against Pakistan. I think just those two matches were enough to for people to say that he's not a big match player. He's just a flat track bully, or whatever, all those words, and he's just silenced them like, yeah, no adjectives for him. And it's just that he's so nonchalant and just chewing his gum, and just with the sword on his sword as in like the bat on his shoulder, and just looking around, okay, where the fielders are, and he knows exactly where the fielders are, and he just won't hit the ball there. He gets into position in time. And there was this wonderful six today, ball, I think in the last over, um, bowled in the fifth stump line, and he moved his front foot towards the line, and just got under the ball and just flicked it for a six, like so effortlessly. Even Ian Bishop on commentary was like, wow, like where was he before? The only question to ask is why didn't he play for India before? Like, do you think he's up amongst the very best already? Like, the AB de Villiers, Russells, Warners, all these kind of big hit the aggressors. Obviously, it's unfair to compare. He's just pretty new, you can say. But I think he's already one of the best in Indian cricket. I was just looking at some stats, and for numbers 4 to 7, no other player has had a strike rate better than his 186. Like, no other player, no filters attached, nothing. And among players who have played at least 10 T20Is, the highest that anyone has managed, the highest strike rate anyone has managed is a strike rate of 148. Dinesh Karthik has a strike rate of 148. So, just being able to do that consistently, average in the 40s and scoring runs. And yeah, do you think like he's already amongst the best in the world? Because he is one of the best in Indian cricket, I would say.
See, at the moment, the way he's playing now, I don't think many in the history of T20 cricket have played better.
Yeah.
The only sort of caveat you'd put in there is there are players who have played almost as well for a very long period of time, and that I suppose is the difference. Look, you know what? We've got so much to say on Suryakumar Yadav. Let's carry on the Sky chat after this short break.
You're listening to Cricket's Conversation on 99.94. Whatever your team, we have the show for you on podcast, YouTube, or on the 99.94 app. We have India, England, South Africa, West Indies, and now Sri Lanka covered. If you want to find us, the best way is to follow us on social media at 9994DM by downloading the 9994 app or Google 99.94 on podcast. We speak cricket.
So back to Sky then. Sky is the limit, whatever, all these phrases that you want to use. I tell you what I love, Sarah, that meme. I think is it from Bahubali or something, where they've got Kohli's face on one guy and he's carrying Suryakumar on his shoulders with all his armour on, and he's got the two bats, one in each hand, like as if they're the swords, and he's going into battle, and Kohli's sort of carrying him on his shoulders. I love that. I've been seeing that on social media quite a bit, and it kind of just shows how well he's appreciated. I mean, even when Kohli's batting with him, you can see the awe that Kohli's in just looking at some of those shots that he plays, which Virat Kohli himself, greatest of all time, couldn't do. There's just some things that even this man can't do, that Sky is doing out there. He's just as exciting as somebody like a Chris Gale or an AB de Villiers, or all these guys, Andre Russell at their peak, but they've done it for a longer period of time. If you look at the likes of Gale and Russell, World Cup winners as well. AB de Villiers, I mean, absolute phenomenon. The Mr. 360, and it was interesting. We obviously don't get the Star Sports feed over here. We get the Sky Sports feed, but and the World feed generally. So we don't get like the Hindi interviews and stuff. But Sky was giving an interview to Star. I saw the quote, and they sort of bigged him up about being this 360 player, and he was very humble. He said, "Look, there's only one Mr. 360, that's AB de Villiers, and I'm just trying to emulate him as much as I can." So there's that respect, obviously, for the greats of this format and the greats of white ball cricket. He's not there yet. Will he ever get there? Who knows? 20 years down the line, people might internationally, fans from all around the world and journalists might look at him and think he just didn't have a long enough international career to be judged in the same bracket as them. But at the moment, the way he has played in the last 12 to 18 months in this format, nobody or not many people have ever played T20 cricket as well with the bat. So that's probably the highest compliment you could give him, right?
Yeah. And just one more thing, about how India struggles in T20Is over the years. Obviously, we know that they struggled to crack the T20I code and the template, adopted a more sedate approach, if you can use that term. I think it's always, come down to the fact that they didn't have the biggest strikers lower down the order, they didn't have that finisher, so to say. I just told you that between numbers 4 to 7, the player with the highest strike rate, more than 10 T20Is, was Dinesh Karthik, 148. And Dinesh Karthik wasn't regular in the team for so many years as well. So, India was always very top heavy unit where with Rohit Sharma's, and Dhawan was there for a while. Now KL Rahul, Virat Kohli, and it was almost like if they failed, then there was no player lower down the order. So they are still kind of playing with that approach. All the talks about India batting more in with more intent up the order. Hasn't really worked out in this World Cup. But the difference is the presence of Surya Kumar Yadav. Even Hardik Pandya has his struggles against pace, and he's not really, except that Pakistan not really been able to fire. But the difference is just Surya Kumar Yadav, and if he had been playing earlier, then you never know that Indian cricket could have just gone to another level, been more aggressive, and everything that Rohit Sharma wants, they could have done that way earlier. And that's why just for him to come in so late and to not change his game at all, just be like, okay, this is what has got me here, this is what has gotten me success, and I will continue to do that. And yeah, he also became only the second player in T20I history to score 1,000 runs in a calendar year. Rizwan is first. He scored 1,300 odd runs last year. So, yeah, just how one person has almost changed the intent and the aggressive approach of the Indian of the Indian batting unit, which is very encouraging. And
It's amazing when you think about it, though, because India, yeah, they were top heavy, and that was shown in the performances. But then when you consider that for a very long period of time, you had the likes of Yuvraj Singh, MS Dhoni, Suresh Raina,
yeah.
all in that sort of 4, 5, 6 unit, and then sometimes even a Yusuf Pathan. They had some real power hitters in that lineup. It just didn't really come off that consistently. I mean, Yuvi, when he came back after his cancer treatment and stuff, wasn't quite the same and got a lot of stick for that knock in the 2014 final. And that is when you needed somebody like a Surya Kumar Yadav just to change that momentum in those middle overs and towards the end. And yeah, you're right. He's transformed this current side, and it's brilliant to see. And it was largely thanks to him, pretty much single-handedly, to get India to that 186 for 5 today. So good total, feeling confident at that stage, and then I mean, off to the worst possible start was Zimbabwe, wicket off the first ball. And there were a couple of sort of periods where they had a 50 partnership, didn't they? And there were a couple of periods where they looked like they're going to tee off, but they were never really in the game, Zimbabwe, and eventually all out for 115, more than 2 overs to spare for the Indians bowling Zimbabwe out there. Wickets were shared around nicely, and I suppose the only one question mark that I've got is Akshar Patel with the ball in Australia. These conditions don't seem to suit his style of bowling. He's not a turner of the ball. I mean, there's not that much assistance for turn anyway, but he's not a wrist spinner, so he's not got that mystery, I suppose. He just fires it in, doesn't he? And on a good length most of the time towards the stumps. Fairly predictable and doesn't really mix up his pace too much. He did for his wicket, actually. I thought he just held that one up a little bit slower. But generally doesn't mix up his pace that much. Hasn't really contributed with the bat either. Is his place up for grabs? I mean, 1 for 40. He didn't complete his 4 overs. Got taken to the cleaners by a side that you would expect him to do well against in most conditions, but it's just not working in Australia, is it?
Yeah, and the fact that he's not had a lot of bowling, like he's not bowled a lot in this tournament also. And do you want he's bowled 1 over in most of the matches? Do you want to go with someone who hasn't had bowled as much as we would have liked in the semi-finals? But then I think he's there in the team just for that batting strength. But yeah, you're right, he's not done much with the bat. So but
Just
then
pick a
who
batter
comes
then.
in?
Pick a
Yeah, but
batter.
then who comes in? I wasn't very happy with dropping DK today for Pant. I know we've spoken about it, but then Pant isn't the finisher. The best spot for him is somewhere in the top 3, 4, or 5, and there's no place for him there. So, yeah, going forward in the semifinals, would you probably want to see someone like Chahal come in, especially considering that England had their struggles against spinners in the last match, especially. So, would you go in with someone like Chahal in the semis?
Yeah, you'd have to look at the conditions as well, I think. It depends
Yeah, it's
what.
in Adelaide.
Yeah, it's in Adelaide. Depends what the strip is like on the day. It's tempting, isn't it? It's tempting to go with Jahel, but then you look at that batting lineup. Who's going to bat at 7? Ashwin. Ashwin will have to bat
Yeah.
at 7, right? Which he can, and he actually might give you more than Akshar Patel has given through the tournament. But then you're
Or then
down to
Harshal.
yeah. But then Herschel with the ball.
Yeah.
It just, I suppose the only advantage you've got here is that we're talking about a potential 6th bowler. So even if Herschel does come in, then he doesn't have to bowl more than 1 or 2 overs, really. He doesn't have to bowl if everyone else is bowling well. But, he doesn't have to bowl really more than 1 or 2 overs if things aren't going well. And he gives you the extra batting capability there at number 8, which could be an option. But then Yuzi is the attacking option. If you want to quieten down that England batting lineup, you just get your best bowlers in, don't you? And you don't give them opportunities to score. You look to take wickets. And that's what Jahel offers you. So, interesting dilemma. Or do you think they'd risk going in with 5 bowlers only? And Deepak Huda can bowl. So, if they're going for that like for like, he's almost a like for Akshar Patel, isn't he? He could bowl you 1 or 2 overs, but he's a lot better with the bat.
But then again, he's not your, finisher. So if again the best place for him is in the top 3, top 4, he can't go after bowling from ball 1 and have a strike rate of 200. He can't score 5. He can't score 10 in 5 balls and all. He's not that kind of a player. So. A lot of headaches for India. Do you think they are the weakest side going into the semis? I know Pakistan,
I'll tell you what,
but Pakistan
yeah.
have their offs, and like you never know what Pakistan will turn up on their day. So
I don't think anyone else apart from India fans and maybe Pakistan fans, with a bit of tongue in cheek, would say that India are the weakest side. I don't think anyone would want to play India from the outside. I think it's mainly India fans who might be a little bit negative about, this didn't go right, that didn't go right. But look, it's been one of those World Cups, and I tell you what, let's look at all 4 sides briefly after this short break.
If you love the language of cricket and want more, then head over to the 99.94 app and you can hear all of our podcasts and cricket commentary. We're adding new shows all the time and covering cricket series from all over the world. Be the first to hear all of our announcements by following us on social media at 9994DM. Welcome to Cricket's Conversation.
So down to the final 4 then. India, Pakistan, New Zealand, England. India versus England, New Zealand versus Pakistan. You can't say any side is the weakest going into the semi-finals. I mean, Pakistan, you could argue, have had the hardest road to get there. But then you could say the momentum is with them because they've made that late charge and got into that top 2 spot. So there's that. I mean, they're obviously very dangerous. Shaheen with 4 wickets in that final group game as well. So he's back to form. That's a massive threat for them because he's been off the boil and that has really affected them. You look at their batting lineup, I think their middle order is coming together really, really nicely. I think it's their top order, which, is funny, isn't it? Because coming into the tournament is like, so much depends on the top 2. If they fail, then that's it, they're done. But actually, the top 2 have been failing, and it's been the middle order bailing them out time and time again. Babar looks in terrible form. Brilliant player, but in terrible form. I mean, he's not got the best strike rate in this form of the game anyway. Rizwan's not looked at his best. I've seen flashes here and there. and it's been the middle order. So they've got a strong middle order, I feel. If their top two can click in the next game against New Zealand, well then you've got to put them right up there amongst, they could go on and win this tournament quite easily, with their bowling attack as well on these pitches. And you've got to remember how close it was in that India match as well, down to the final ball. If it wasn't for one of the greatest innings of all time from Virat Kohli, Pakistan would have easily won that match in the end. So fine margins, very good side. All bases covered pretty much. They just need their top two to fire, I think, now. New Zealand, brilliant bowling attack. How do you look at New Zealand from the outside? I mean, they always go under the radar a little bit, don't they? Because it's a small country. They don't make a lot of noise. They're fans, but they always turn up, don't they, to these ICC events?
And even their spin, like Ish Sodhi, Santner, they have been doing well. Same for Pakistan also, Nawaz and Shadab. We talk about their fast bowling, but the spinners have been doing pretty well. Kane Williamson's form was, bitter form. It was under the scanner. He scored 40 and 40 in one of the matches, but then last game he scored 60 odd in 35 deliveries, I think. So yeah, he's been coming to form. Top order is pretty decent. And with the New Zealand, even before up preview for the World Cup, we were like Australia can make it, but then we were like, you can never count out New Zealand. So I would personally, maybe it's talking from past experience or whatever, I would have not wanted to face New Zealand in the semis. England, they've not really turned up, as you said, but they still, they seem a team that can be beaten on their day. It's just spin, just strangle them with spin, I would say. And I wouldn't say it'll be an easy road for them, but for India, but they do have their shortcomings. Even the pacers, they hit they are quick, but then they've not really been consistent as much. So it should be an exciting semi-final,
Yeah, I mean, I think England, looked like the strongest side in the tournament so far. They've got a good unit that has been together for so long. They've got the X factor with the extra pace of Mark Wood, and not just the pace, but the accuracy that he's been bowling with as well. He seems to be bowling better than he ever has, really. And then, Adil Rashid has only picked up the one wicket so far in this competition, but has hardly given any runs, has, looked brilliant in their final group game as well. And, they've got three decent spinners if they want. And that's the difference, right? They've got batters who bowl. India haven't had that for years.
Yeah.
And that could, it depends on the conditions, obviously, but if the wicket is taking turn, then all of a sudden they've got Rashid, Moeen Ali and Liam Livingstone, who could all potentially bowl 12 overs between them. So that, and if it's not spinning, Livingstone doesn't even have to bowl. Moeen might just bowl one over. You've got Rashid, and then you've got the three quicks as well. So it's Sam Curran's a brilliant cricketer as well. He's coming into great form. We all know about his exploits in the IPL and how much MS Dhoni loves him as well, over in the IPL. So yeah, they've got a lot of threats, I think, and it'd be interesting to see. Look, it's going to be Pakistan-New Zealand, the first semi-final on Wednesday. So we'll know. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it, that before India even play their semi-final, Pakistan, who everyone was saying were knocked out after two games. I mean, yeah, there's maths and there's permutations, but it's just not going to happen, right? No one thought it would happen. Pakistan fans had given up as well, most of them. And Pakistan could potentially be in the final before India even play their semi-final. It's just mad. Absolutely crazy tournament. It's been brilliant. I think overall, I would say this has been, rain aside, I know the rain's been a little bit frustrating, but it's been probably the best T20 World Cup for the neutral, because there's been so many close games. There's been, I don't know if we can call them upsets anymore, but there's been a few shock results. Zimbabwe with, famous victories. I mean, look, the other night, Afghanistan could have beaten Australia as well. That was pretty close. So there's been some tasty stuff. Netherlands beating South Africa, of course. Namibia. I mean, there's just been some fabulous results in the preliminary round, in the qualifiers to get to the Super 12s and the Super 12s itself. Just been fantastic. Would you agree with that? Best one yet?
Yeah, best one yet. There have been so many close matches. We knew the semi-final lineup, but we didn't know, who would play what till the very last match. And just before we wrap up, I don't know if you followed, Pakistan cricket Twitter in the last few days, and their meltdown was just hilarious. Saying that, okay, this is cheating when there was that India Bangladesh match. This is cheating, and ICC is equal to BCCI and all those. Like, it was hilarious to just see, and then suddenly Pakistan come out of nowhere, and all of them are just silenced now. So I think it's the fans, who make all these like World Cups and events more special than what it already is. And yeah, can we also just, especially coming after the last T20 World Cup, which was quite dull, I would say, not because India lost in the first round, but just UAE, the uh, games in UAE don't just have that aura or the charm. It's the World Cup, or probably dull pitches, not a lot of crowds in. So after that, coming to Australia, jam packed, 80-90,000 people, most of them Indian supporters, obviously. So this gives the proper World Cup feels, and especially this World Cup coming after the boring snooze fest of the World Cup that was last year is even more exciting and entertaining. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, you say great crowds. I mean, it's mainly thanks to India on the whole, and Pakistan as well, because Australia can't even sell out stadiums when they're playing in a home World Cup, which is a bit weird for a country that's massive cricket nation and defending champions. I found that all a little bit strange, but yeah, it's great to see. I mean, India versus Zimbabwe, for a Zimbabwe game, doesn't matter if it's a World Cup or whatever, to get 82,000
Yeah.
people into the MCG is just brilliant, absolutely fantastic. And we hope to see lots more Indian crowds at games. Just on that point, by the way, the Pakistani meltdown is not just fans, it's
Yeah.
so-called journalists with blue ticks, by the way, as well, who are just spouting absolute rubbish. I mean, I don't know where these people study journalism, or do they even know the definition of journalism. It's just, yeah, I don't understand. I'm glad a few of them got called out by people like Harsha Bogle for just spouting nonsense. And, for all the genuine fans out there, well done. This is, this is the Pakistan we love to see, really. Just, you never know what you're going to get. Dangerous on their day. They could beat anyone, and they could lose to anyone as well. So, it's a roller coaster ride for them. So well done to Pakistan for making the semi-finals, and we look forward to those final three matches of the tournament. Hopefully India can be involved in more than just the one and make it through to that final at the MCG. We'll preview the semi-final against England in more detail. That one takes place on Thursday, so we'll be back in a couple of days with a preview ahead of that one. But for now, thanks very much for listening.